If you are able to change something and you want to change it, do it. I spent so long when I was poorly not able to do so much stuff because I was ill and it held me back. Now that I'm better, I'm like, if I have the power to change it, change it. What is holding me back from doing it? So it's definitely given me a push.
Do you find yourself winging your way through life, hoping you'll figure it all out on the way? Hello, it's me, Gabby Mendez, your 20s wing woman, and you're listening to the Talk Twenties podcast. Here you'll find me chatting to influential 20-somethings on different topics that matter to you in your 20s and all the things we never got taught in school. This is your ultimate guide to adult life. So if you're ready, let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Talk Twenties podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following or what are you playing at, make sure you hit that button and subscribe so you never miss an episode of us in the studio. Today, I'm joined in the studio by Chloe Chapman. Chloe is an eczema advocate and skin positivity influencer. She started sharing her journey online to thousands of other people, and loads of people started relating with her journey. She's here today to talk about the highs and lows of living with a chronic condition in your 20s, and I just can't wait to speak to her. So hello, Chloe. Welcome to the podcast. It's so lovely to have you here.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming in. Tell me a little bit more about your situation over the past year or so, because it's not been an easy one, has it?
No, not been an easy ride. Basically, I've had eczema my whole life, from when I was a baby. But in the last 18 months or so, it got significantly worse. And obviously the country went into lockdown, COVID, etc. And I just started posting about it on my Instagram, with no intention of anything happening other than just sort of documenting it and seeing my progress, and started to find other people who were in the same boat. And it kind of took off. And here I am a year later with just over 20,000 followers and people. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I basically now just sort of shout about loving yourself a bit more and loving the skin that you're in. And thankfully I'm doing a lot better now health-wise. But yeah, it's been a rocky road over the last 18 months. It's
definitely been lovely to see how, well you're doing now, because I know it's not always been that way for you. And people, if they're interested in seeing your journey or following your journey, they should definitely check out your Instagram. But it's been something that you talk so openly about, and I think that's really commendable, really, because for something that can seem quite a personal thing to go through, sharing your message online has. Well, you talk about a lot about how it's helped you, but I think it's probably also helped a lot of people because you're talking openly about something that not always people feel so comfortable talking about.
Yeah, I think I didn't really realise that aspect of it when I started doing it. I was doing it, not selfishly, that's not really the right word, but I was doing it for me. I was doing it just to, like I said, document what I was going through. And then people started popping up and going, actually, this happens to me too, and I'm not alone. And then that has then led to them sharing it with their friends who have an issue and so on. And it's just, gone wild. I didn't start it with an intention of being a influencer, but it's sort of become that, and I quite enjoy it.
Definitely. So let's talk about your journey in the past year in a little bit more detail. You've had some... You'd say probably now is quite a high point for you, would you say?
Yeah, I think I've grown a lot in the last year, physically and mentally. I've gone through a lot, and it's come out a much stronger person, which I didn't imagine I was going to get to 18 months ago. But yeah, there's been some pretty bleak times in the last 18 months that have shaped me as a person, I think is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I basically, just for a little more detail for anyone that doesn't know what I've gone through, my eczema was so severe that some days I wouldn't be able to get out of bed or leave the house or walk, eat, sleep, basic human things. I think I've had maybe 6 A&E visits over the last year because of suspected sepsis. It got pretty bleak and to the point where mentally I was at actual rock bottom. And I think that's something that people don't necessarily realise about skin conditions is that, and any chronic condition really, that it can take you to a really dark place mentally. And so, yeah, it's been a lot.
So talking about those darker times, what what helped you get out of those difficult situations? And when
I think really unintentionally sharing my story online has helped massively. Like, it was a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Like, obviously when we were in lockdown, I was on furlough for like maybe 2 months. So every day for 2 months and I didn't have like a lot of followers then. I had maybe like close friends and family, and then like some people for a while that had just been following me. So maybe like 1,000 followers or something like that. And I'd just get up in the morning and be like, oh, hi guys, today's a good day or today's a bad day. And it was a reason to get out of bed to update people as to what was going on.
Yeah.
Again, like a diary. But because it got worse before it got better. When it got really bad, knowing that there was people, random strangers from all over the world, sat on the end of their phones waiting for me to update them on what was going on with my life and what was going on with my skin, it kept me going. Like, it really, really did.
It's amazing to hear. I think one of the things that you're a massive advocate for is kind of skin positivity.
Absolutely.
And I think skin is just something that we don't talk about enough. But it's a huge factor in how we feel about ourselves. I know that I don't have, a chronic condition like yourself, but I know that, dry skin, spots, acne, although it's nothing in comparison, you can feel a sense of like self-consciousness and things like that.
Yeah.
How did it impact your kind of confidence and things like that?
I think initially, I just want to say as well, like, just because you have a small issue with a skin condition doesn't make it any less of an issue for you personally. I think that's something that's misconceived as well, is that because someone is worse off than someone else doesn't it doesn't make it any easier for them sometimes. It can sometimes be the hardest thing in the world to deal with a spot, like, never mind other stuff. But yeah, so I think that initially my confidence was like, well, it was a very up and down thing, but my confidence fluctuated throughout. So like initially it was like, I don't even look like me. How can I even step out of the house? To then, well, I'm going to have to step out of the house. I'm going to have to learn to deal with it. I'm going to have to try and own it almost. So I think a lot of people enjoyed when I showed myself like full flare, like my face, an absolute mess, like unrecognisable, swollen up, completely red. I had no eyebrows left. I had no eyelashes left from how bad my skin was. People watching me like just go to the shops in the morning or like going to get my lunch was like, oh, I can do it too. So it was almost like a fake it till you make it confidence.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's true for a lot of people. Yeah, it's definitely fake it till you make it.
Yeah, initially. And then it was kind of like, wait, people aren't necessarily staring at me. Even if they are, what do I care? Like, I'm doing this because I need to go and get some food or I need to go to the shops or whatever. I just get on with my day. And I think that initial step to just do it was the hardest step. Once you've done it, you can sort of settle into it and go, right, okay, I know that I look like crap, but I'm just going to crack on. So yeah, and then the confidence thing then fluttered a bit, I guess, because I then started getting a bit better and sort of noticing bits a bit more. So like when it was really bad, the whole thing was really bad. So you're like, it's not going to get any better. I'm not going to get any worse. So I may as well just crack on with it. When it then gets better, it was like, oh, I noticed these little bits more. I noticed those little bits more. So it was then dealing with that mentally as well. But thankfully I'm now in an even place where like I can deal with smaller flares and be like, oh, it's nothing. It's a walk in the park.
Yeah.
So hopefully other people start feeling that as well.
Yeah. With your skin positivity message that you share online, what is like the main things that you find yourself constantly talking about that other people seem to really relate to?
I think probably just learning to sort of love yourself a bit more. I think it's not necessarily just about your skin, it's about your whole being. Like, through my skin being bad and gaining more positivity about my own skin, I've gained a better mindset about my life in general. And I wouldn't have realised that if I hadn't gone through what I went through. It's changed my outlook on life. So I think the skin positivity sort of catchphrase is like just a little like foot in the door for like general just positivity and like mindset change towards yourself, like in full.
Definitely. You talk a lot about how your journey online has really helped and supported you. But I know from speaking to you that it's also been a challenge to manage that.
Absolutely.
There are so many great positive things about social media. We find ourselves talking about social media a lot on the podcast because it's a huge part of any 20-something's life, really. It's hard to get away from that. There's all the good things that have happened that you've mentioned, the fabulous people you've met, the support that you had. But there are inevitably some downsides to social media as well. How do you prioritise your mental health online where you are so public about, you know, your situations and what you're going through? And essentially people are there to comment, to pass judgment, to do whatever, you know, it can be a horrible place sometimes. How do you get your head around that? Because I think going from 1,000 followers to 20,000 followers is a big jump in a year.
Yeah.
How has that made you feel, and how have you managed to deal with it across the past kind of 18 months?
A definite learning curve. I have no experience in being a voice of sort that people listen to at all. It wasn't like I planned to do this. So I've definitely just had to sort of teach myself on the way. I don't have management or anything like that. It's just me on the end of a phone.
Yeah.
So I've had to teach myself I've had to put boundaries in place basically. And I've had to realise that I'm not a bad person because I don't reply to messages or like initially when it first, so I had a reel on Instagram that went a little bit viral and I sort of shot up from, I think I was on like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 followers to like 10,000 followers in like 3 weeks because this reel just went absolutely nuts. Yeah. And I had my DMs gone from like maybe 4 or 5 messages a day to like 40 or 50 messages a day. And up until that point, I was like, I replied to everyone. It was part of my MO. I was like, I'm going to try and get to everyone. Yeah. Like some kind of savior. I was like, I'll talk to you. I'll listen to you because people aren't listening to you. And then I had to realise that taking on that responsibility is not a one-woman job at all. Yeah. And
you need a team of Chloe Chapman.
Well, you literally, if I could multiply myself by 10 and deal with it, I would. But yeah, it got to the point where I had to sort of take a step back and go, right, I can't be getting home because I have a 9 to 5. I don't do this. I don't influence full time.
Yeah.
I'm not getting home from work at night. I was still really poorly at this point. Get home from work at night, put myself in a bath to try and like sort my skin out, sort my day out. I'd sit in my bath, my only relaxing hour of the day, and reply to messages. It's like I cannot let it eat up my personal self-care time. I can't let it do that. So, and it took me a while to figure out how to do that and how to set those boundaries in place. But I essentially needed to realise, I saw someone put up the other day, like, you're not a bitch because you set boundaries. Yeah. Like, there's a difference. Like, you're not being a bad person because you set boundaries.
Was that Gina Martin that said that?
No, it was, I saw Gina put it up though, but it was someone else. But it's, that was hard for me mentally because I wanted to help people. I wanted to reply to them. I wanted to be there for people like people had been there for me. So sort of having to realise that I don't necessarily have to do that was huge. And then obviously you have like...
Also, I think like when you have the following that you have, like, not everyone is actually expecting a reply. Quite often
I don't realise that.
Yeah, a lot of the time they're just like, oh, like, you know, and if they do reply, oh my God, she replied to me. Like, you know, and it's
which is bizarre for me to think that someone sat on the end of their phone going, oh my God, Chloe Chapman's replied to me. I'm like, I'm just a person in Leeds in my flat. Just a normal human being. Like,
I think when you have that pressure on yourself, like, you know, just from, again, you're talking specifically about lovely people who are coming to support for you in your inbox. But I think there's also been an element of when you, and I've even done this, when I've posted about having a potential like issue or problem or something out there, people offer their advice to you.
We love some unsolicited
advice. Like, oh, I can fix your problem. Maybe you should do this. Like the other day, I put something as simple as I attended a QuickBooks webinar to learn how to do accounting for
was everyone
my
all
business.
Of a sudden had an accounting degree in DMs?
Yeah. So I literally just put up on my social media like, oh, I've just spent the afternoon doing a QuickBooks webinar. I had a few people message me going, oh, like you should maybe look at Xero because actually it's a lot cheaper and it's more. I was like, I didn't ask for advice. I literally just said what I was doing. So when someone can have an opinion just like that and offer it up, and I was like, oh, by the way, no way offended that people want to tell me what they prefer as their choice of accounting software. And this is not an advertisement for Xero or QuickBooks or anyone.
Not a sponsor.
But when people like are like giving their advice, you have mentioned quite publicly on social media that people have often tried to give you advice for how to manage your own chronic condition.
Yeah, it's...
What do you want to say to those people? Because I already want to go.
This is a direct message to all of the people in my DMs. No, I think with these things, majority of time, people have the best of intentions, and I'm just going to say that to sort of caveat the whole thing. I understand that people are trying to help, but it's not helpful. Like, one of the things that took me into a sort of spiral with my condition last year was that I joined Facebook groups. Because I was at my wit's end, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to do. I joined a Facebook group, and it took me down a rabbit hole of stuff that basically meant that I quit all medication, which was the worst thing that I've ever done. Some people do it the natural route. That's absolutely fine. You do you, boo. Like, you do what you want to do. It's your body. It is your choice. At the same time, it is my body and it is my choice. Like, this is my health that we're dealing with. So when you get people coming into your DMs going, it's not... Sometimes people be really polite saying, hi, just dropping you a message. You might want to know about this, or you met like, this worked for me, so it might work for you. You can tell their intentions are good. You can tell. It's when people just straight up, you should try this. You should do that. It's like, no, I shouldn't do anything.
And I bet you they have absolutely no idea. Like, they literally are looking at the surface and going, oh, I think a vino might help.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like, people are like, oh, you should drink a litre of celery juice a day and you will be cured. And
no,
I'm
like, no. And I think I know myself better.
One, gross. Two, like, that has not, like, you cannot cure the type of eczema that I have. You cannot cure it. There is not a cure for it. I am never going to be cured. Nothing is ever, I'm always going to have it. It might be a little patch. I might be fully covered in my body, but it's never going to cure it. But that was a mental battle as well, because then when that started happening, I started sort of getting more trolley type people in my DMs. Thankfully, like, on the whole, it's probably only been like maybe 2 or 3% of messages that I get are like that. A vast majority.
Do those kind of cut through?
It hits harder.
Like,
it hits harder.
Yeah, it's different
because there's only a few of them. Everyone hits like a stomach punch. But I've now learned, again, boundaries, so important. If you have not set boundaries in place for your online presence or just your own personal social media, do it. It's so important, because I've now safeguarded myself from things like that. Any accounts that are affiliated with that kind of thing, I've blocked them. I've not felt bad about it either. I did initially. I was like, oh, why? I'm like, if someone was rude to you in real life, would you go out for a coffee with them again? No. You would stop being friends with them. So why can it not apply online? Why can it not apply that you can unfollow it, unblock someone? It should be just general etiquette, and people don't think that it is. So, but it's very important.
You talk a lot about panicking and overthinking as being a big part of your journey. I'm not going to lie, I feel you. No matter what situation, I find myself overthinking or panicking or about the worst case scenario, and it never ends up being that bad. You often say that you think that overthinking and panicking actually makes you get worse in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think, obviously, in the last year, I think everyone's mental health's taken a bit of a dive, like, not especially people of our age, but I think it's been a really tough time for people in their 20s, because it's such a formative years of your life anyway, and they're getting
stuck indoors doing nothing.
Yeah, they're getting taken away from you, and I'm not saying it's any better off for any other age group, by the way, but it's all
right, we're all friends here. We all can relate to the fact that it's shit, our 20s have been taken away from us.
But it's been hard, and I think that everyone's mental health's taken a bit of a dive. Mine has definitely been heightened, I think is the right word, through like the trauma of my illness, through COVID, through being inside for 8 months. Like, it's made me see my panics and anxieties a lot clearer, but it's also made them a lot worse. And I definitely, like 100%, if my mental health is bad, my skin is bad. Like, it's almost it's a reaction. Like, someone said to me, it's like psychosomatic. I was like, it's not psychosomatic, because that's almost like a made up kind of like your body fighting it off. But it's just, it's so clear as day that when my mental health takes a dive, so does my skin. So I'm working very slowly but surely to try and like work on myself, work on my brain and figure out where I'm going wrong with that. And it's a lot easier now that my skin is a lot more manageable, because when it wasn't, you can't see the wood through the trees when you're that poorly. So yeah, taking time now that I'm better to invest in myself and my brain is so important.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that is so important that we should do in our 20s, especially because we don't have it all figured out, is knowing when to ask for help and support.
Absolutely.
I think that's so... I've battled with a lot of things in my 20s that if I'd have just asked someone, probably wouldn't have been an issue. And I think that goes for finding the right person as well to ask for that support, because you don't just want to, like, for example, you went to the Facebook groups and you said that wasn't the right place for you to ask for that support.
Yeah, it was.
But going to perhaps an expert, a dermatologist, or speaking to your loved ones about how you're feeling,
absolutely.
That's the places that we should be going to for support.
I think a lot of, back to sort of the unsolicited advice thing, is that people think that they're experts because they've gone through it, but they're not. Like, they're not. They don't have doctorates. Like, they are not experts. Like, they are experts in their own health and their own condition. Like, I am an expert in my own health. I'll say that. You'd be an expert in your own health. But this random person on the internet, just because they've been through a similar scenario to me, does not make them able to give me advice that is going to work. And it took me a long time to realise that. One
of the things that you post on social media that I absolutely love, and it's a quote that you kind of have put on social media recently. You say your bad days were once your good days.
Yeah. So,
and I think that's a really good way of looking at things.
Yeah. I think I read it in a book or saw it online somewhere. I can't remember where I saw it, but it is one of the things that completely changed my mindset as my healing process and things like that. Like, for example, now I would consider a bad day, like, my eyes get really sore every so often now. It's just one of the leftover things from some treatments that I've had. And I was like, oh, my eyes really sore. Today's a bad skin day. And I'm like, hang up. If I look like this when I was in the depths of being really poorly, that would have been the best day ever.
Yeah.
Like, and I need to realise that I've grown as a person and got a lot better from that. And I think it helps you manage your... not your expectations, it's not the right word, but it helps you sort of, your perspective on your life and your growth as a human being. Like, you can put that to anything. You could put it to your mental health, you could put it to your condition, you could put it to...
I think any 20-something would be able to relate to that. Listen, like, your bad days now, you once craved. You once wanted a day like that. So look at it from the positive.
Look how much that you've grown. Look how much that you've grown and become from that, and realise that it may get bad like that again, but you've had a good day after that. Like, things will get better again and it's going to be okay.
I love that. I want to chat to you a little bit more about your 20s in general.
Go for it.
Have you ever had an experience, something that's happened to you where you thought, oh my God, like, I'm a walking disaster. I'm an adult in disaster. Any funny stories to share with us?
So I think the first thing that came to mind with this is I was in my third year at university, or like just the end of my second year, start of my third year at uni. And in Leeds is a train station in Burley, which is near Hyde Park. And it's literally like a walk, maybe like 20 minutes. But we'd been on like a museum trip somewhere out of Leeds. So we were like, oh, we'll just hop on the train from Leeds to Burley. Didn't get a ticket because it's like, I think it was like £2 for a ticket, something like that. And it was like a rush hour train. So it was like, right, okay, just hop on, hop off at the other end. I got off at the other end and there was a bloody ticket warden there.
Oh my God.
So we're like, right, okay, here's your thing. Go to this website, pay you £2.20 in the next 25 days and it's fine. Like, we'll sort it. Me being a chaotic 21-year-old at university who clearly just wanted to go out boozing with her mates and not pay a £2.20 train fine, completely forgot about it. I then get a letter through the post about a month later saying that I need to pay a 80 quid fine or they're going to take me to court. So this is just before my next student loan drop. So I was poor. I had no money, like nothing. It was like on the edge.
Those days of,
like literally the week before student loan drop, I had nothing. And obviously me going, oh my God, they're going to take me to court, I'm going to get arrested. They weren't like, they might take me to court, but it would have been like a year's time. So I very stupidly got my bank account, turned that bank account into a student bank account, got an overdraft on it for £100 so I could pay this 80 quid fine. That overdraft then turned into a £1,500 overdraft over the course of the year because I didn't close it straight away. And I ended up with like £3,000 worth of overdraft for like 4 years that I just paid off last year.
Do you know what? I think people can relate from you. I definitely spent the first couple of years out of uni in and out my overdraft. Literally. Because like why did they do that?
Yeah,
Why
did £2,000
do
for
that?
free? Like, just have it.
Because I know it's like, you know, no charges, whatever, but it literally takes, like for me, it took so long to get out of it.
One of mine started charging me last year. Started charging me like 80p a day or something. I was paying like 30 quid a month just to have it.
Oh my gosh.
Literally.
That's how they make money.
Literally,
Man.
like, so yeah. So that was my whoopsie in my early 20s. But I have learnt from it, but I don't think it's a very good way to learn. They should just teach you it in school to like not do that.
Not do that in the first place and not then make the mistakes later on.
Literally.
Is there anything, obviously you're living with a chronic condition and you talk about that being a challenge for you, but is there anything else in your life that you kind of feel holds you back at the moment that you're trying to work on at the moment to try and improve your life, whether that's self-development or anything you kind of want to improve?
So I think like very recently I quit the job for a company that I've been with for 5 years and have taken a dive into a completely different job, like just something completely different to what I've done for the last 5 years. And it was a huge step for me because I loved the company that I worked for, but I just hit a ceiling. Like, I'm 26 next month, and not saying that everyone should have it figured out by the time they're in their mid-20s. Like, you
definitely don't.
Yeah, no, you don't need to. But I felt like I was kind of getting to the point where can I go? Like, I've hit a ceiling that I can't push past. Am I going to just sit? And it was taking a toll on my mental health as well. Like, I wasn't being challenged. I wasn't like, I felt like my brain was just slowly like turning to mush because I was doing the same thing every day in and out, and it wasn't challenging me. And I was like, right, I need to do something about this. And because I love the company so much and I love all the people that work there so much, it was a really hard thing for me to do, to say, right, I'm going to look for another job. I've been threatening it for a year. I was like, I need to do it. I've had the hardest year of my life. And it made me realise that if you are able to change something and you want to change it, do it. I spent so long when I was poorly not able to do so much stuff because I was ill and it held me back. Now that I'm better, I'm like, if I have the power to change it, change it. Like, what is holding me back from doing it? So it's definitely given me a push. And so I start my new job next week, which is very exciting.
Good luck.
But yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. And I think it's, I felt a bit lost in what I was doing. So I'm excited to have a sort of set thing ahead to look forward to. It's,
and a little bit of a fresh start as well, because you're starting something new.
I feel weirdly together with my life. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the penny to drop.
And then it's going to throw it all out of whack again. Like, always the way. It's never like safe for too long. It's like, and if it does happen, you're like, why do I feel okay about myself?
Oh no, I'm like, I find questioning my life. I'm like, why is everything going okay? I don't like it. It's too good.
Hopefully it stays that way. So I like asking people on the podcast, like, where'd you get your inspiration from? Like, who is it? Someone that inspires you? Is it something that inspires you? Like, what helps you like every day?
I think I was thinking about this one, and it's quite hard for me. Like, I can't think of one person in particular, like, related to sort of what I do online. The main inspiration, a bit cheesy, the main inspiration that came to my brain was my other half. Like, Greg, if you're listening, which I hope you've made it this far in the podcast, this one's for you. He's so driven in everything that he does. And it's something that I'm not a naturally driven person. Like, I have to work to like pull myself out of bed and right, today is going to be productive. Like, I have to like set myself goals, but he just like gets up, gets on, cracks on, smashes out a day's work, comes home, smashes out tea for me. I'm just like, how do you just keep going? I don't understand. So I take a lot from him, and I've learned a lot from him since we've been together. We've been together 4 years now. I've learned a lot from him to like learn to just like he opens my brain up to like possibilities that I didn't think would be. Like, I don't use my degree in any way, shape, or like I have a photography degree. I occasionally use it here and there, like the smidgest bit of freelance. And I sort of felt really down on myself that like, I've got a useless degree. What am I going to do? And he's like, you can do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I will be here to support you every step of the way, and you can do like when I was like really low about it, he like sat and like wrote out a plan and like notes on my phone. He was like, right, part 1, do this, part 2, do this. These are the steps that are going to make your life amazing, exactly what you want it to be. So he's definitely like my drive and my push, and I take a lot of inspiration from that.
That's so nice. And I think when you live with someone like that, like it can rub off on you. And
it
it's
does.
like, yeah, I can do it too.
Don't
Like,
get me wrong, he's really annoying, but I love him.
just slip that bit in there, Greg. I hope you're still listening. You haven't switched off just yet.
He just broke up with me.
So this is kind of a new question that I've started to ask in the podcast recently. And I really kind of want to know, like, what's made you feel more confident in your 20s? I think when we start off right at the beginning, you can feel like you don't really know who you are. You don't know where you're going with your career. You don't know what you're doing with your finances and all of that kind of stuff. What springs to mind when you think about how you've grown in confidence over the past, 5-6 years?
6 years. I think that actually going to uni was a massive confidence boost for me because I started clean, like started a fresh slate, which was a whole new thing for me. Like, I'm from a tiny village in the Midlands, and as much as I absolutely adore it there and I love all the people, you have no privacy. Like, your mum knows your dads, knows your sisters, knows your aunties, knows your cousins.
I'm from a town like that too. Yeah,
like everyone knows everyone.
Hate going home for that reason.
I never like walked a boy like around the village when I was 14. Like, we couldn't hold hands because the post office lady would see it, tell her sister, who would then tell her cousin, who would be in the pub with my dad later.
Do you know what I love about living somewhere where you're not originally from is that you can go to the supermarket and just do your shopping. Like,
I love that.
For me,
I love it.
When I go home, when I just like
you spend 2 hours in there,
pop
so
to
you're
the
like,
co-op.
Hi.
If I'm with my mum, that's even worse. She'll see about 5 people she knows. We'll be in 10 conversations, and I go back to like 11, 13-year-old me that's just sat there like, can we go now?
Yeah,
can we go? Mum, tea. Oh, mum, there's that programme we were going to watch. Hello. Like, and it's literally the most...
45 minutes have passed.
Yeah.
We haven't done a single bit of shopping.
We've spent 2 hours in the co-op today. Where did that time go? So I just love like just being able to go to shops and like no one
just crack
really
on,
know
just
me.
get on with your shopping. No, yeah, I totally get that. So yeah, coming from a small village like that, as much as I love it and I love going back then, I appreciate going back there a lot more now than when I lived there.
Yeah.
But university was like it was like a whole new world. Like, it was a city, which was exciting. So like learning about myself in that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the same person I was when I was in my first and second year at university, but it definitely gave me confidence in myself. And then obviously the obvious answer would be like the stuff that I've been through in the last year. Like, it's boosted my confidence massively. But I think university started that sort of, like, I never would have posted myself on Instagram if it hadn't been for the person that university made me.
Yeah.
So it's like a nice chain reaction of events, I think. And hopefully my confidence just carries on as I approach the big 3-0. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Exciting stuff. So I just have one last question for you. And if you could look your 20-year-old self in the eye and give 20-year-old Chloe just one piece of advice,
God,
what would you say to her?
Don't worry that uni is going crap. Don't worry that you kind of hate it a little bit and you thought that it was your dream, because like things will be okay. Like, just keep going on the course that you're on and just keep being true to yourself and it will be fine. Like, I don't think I regret anything from being 20 onwards. I have some regrets from my teenage years, but again, they were formative regrets, as silly as that sounds. But I think I set myself on an uppy downy path from 20 onwards, but I wouldn't regret anything that I did because it's got me here and I'm so happy where I am now. If I'd have changed one tiny thing, like if I'd not gone to Leeds University, if I'd not done photography, if I'd not got a job in a bar in third year, I would not be sat here doing this podcast right now. Like, it just wouldn't have happened. But yeah, just even though you hate your degree, just keep doing it and it will be fine, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to say to a lot of people who are in that position as well. Like, it was another podcast. It was one of your podcasts. I can't remember who it was. They were talking about their degree and they were saying they don't use it. Yeah. People don't even look at it. I've not had anyone ever ask what I've got at university.
No.
I got a 2-2 in photography. It was fine.
Yeah.
But no one's ever asked.
Yeah.
It wasn't pointless.
My degree was education, and like everyone was like, "You can be a teacher, you can be a teacher." I did teaching and I hated it. Absolutely hated it, and I felt like a total failure because I was like, I'm not doing something that isn't directly to my degree. If I'm not a teacher, I'm not a success.
Literally.
But like I've used it in my own different way. Like we still educate through the platform that I've created.
I mean, look at this. Look at what you do now. It's amazing.
It's different though, and like it shapes you as a person, but it doesn't define you. I think that's the important thing.
Spot on. Like the words that I couldn't say is literally that. It formed me as a person, but it doesn't define what I do with the rest of my life at all.
Definitely. So where can we find you?
I'm at Chloe May Chapman on Instagram, and that's about it. Oh no, I have a YouTube now as well, actually.
Woo,
I have 2 videos on there and 170 subscribers.
Whoa, go
So
Chloe.
yeah, if you go to my Instagram, you'll find my link tree, which will have my YouTube on it.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming into the studio. It's been so lovely to chat to you.
I've loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Talk 20s podcast. I hope it inspired you in some way and pops a little pep in your step for this week. Got a spare minute? It would mean the absolute world if you could subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with a friend. We're on a mission to help as many 20-somethings navigate their 20s as we can, and we really cannot do it without your support. We also love to hear from you. You can find us on all platforms via the handle @Talk20s. And if you're struggling with something in your 20s that we haven't already covered in the podcast, DM us and let us know so we can cover it in a future episode. And for more stories of inspiration and resources to help you make the best of your 20s, head to our website, talk20s.com.